At least it's possible. Yo, guys, we're live. We had a emergency baby awakening, so things are unpredictable. Anything can happen with the impromptu live. So let's see what's going on here. Getting hit up on Facebook per usual. We got 4 people on no notice. So let's see. All right, we got the overhead cam. What I was going to do, if a few people are able to join tonight, we might have a guest later, possibly. We'll see what happens. May or may not have a guest, but if not, we'll look at some cards. We got some artist proofs, a lot of artist proofs actually. So there's going to be. I was thinking about the format to offer the proofs. We're doing some auctions. Obviously, Spice City says. So again, on Facebook, I don't know who's commenting on Facebook. Let me go to the. There I am live on. Oh, Jason, what's up, man? Yeah. So unless I go to the Facebook group, I can't tell who's on there. How's the audio looking? Grendel's Gallery, what's up, man? Australia is what, like mid-morning on Saturday? Heard the bat phone. Devin Mikan. My-chan. Is it are you in Australia, Devin? Here, let me do a little switcheroo here. No. That's not what we want. Here we go. All right, so we got the Mirror Realm. And what I was gonna do is showcase some artist proofs. I guess I'll start with Tony's proof a little bit. I will swap to YouTube. So this is one of my personal proofs that Tony sent to me recently. So if you guys were unable to make the live last time, Too Fluent, what's up, man? Too Fluent, I actually mailed you something today. So stay by your mailbox for the next few days. You're going to be pretty damn excited about what's coming, I think. It's for you and your wife. I know you got some big events going on, so keep an eye out for that. At the same address as last time. I don't know what that address is, but keep an eye out. So anyway, Tony was on last week. We did an impromptu live, and he talked about his concept for the King of the Realm. So this is number 3 of 25. You see his signature is a little shaky there. He's having an issue with his thumb right now. So he's doing the best he can to even just sign his name and to do some commissions for Eric and some of these artist proofs, right? So he recently finished up this one. And what's going on with the King of the Realm? This is a self-portrait of Tony at the age of 38. So what he's going to be doing for the 25 proofs is he had this idea to show kind of like the evolution or the cycle of his life from a baby up through modern day. I think he recently turned like mid-60s or something like that. So you'll have the evolution of the king as an infant child in the palace. And then he said, maybe later in his I don't know, adolescent or teen years, he'll have a photo with his father. I know his father passed away pretty young, so he means a lot to him. We didn't get to see a lot of his art career, so it's kind of a sad story. But he's going to maybe have a cameo with him, and then have all these concepts, with like him as some version of the evolving king, and that will be his artist proof series for King of the Realm. I think he might send me one more card next week for auction. I don't think it'll be King of the Realm. It'll be shit. What did he say it was, man? Let me check. He hit me up on Facebook Messenger today. Let me get the keyboard. He got it's so delayed on Facebook. That's hilarious. So what was he talking about here? He said something about a sketch AP painting. It might be Mage Hunter. So we might have a Mage Hunter coming next week, but there's many artist proofs from Vincent Pompetti especially. So I was gonna show some of those. Right now, what just launched for auction is this Silver Valkyries. This is the first Silver Valkyries from Severin. This was one of her elite. You see, it's an elite rarity card in the alpha set. The square corners tell you it's an artist proof, and she did this beautiful painting on the back here. And it's hard to catch on the light. I tried to show an image at an angle like this on the Sorcery Contested Realm community Facebook group, but if you catch it at the right angle and under the right lighting, she actually uses silver shimmery paint along this part of the helmet. What's up, man? What did you do with the packet I gave you? Hey, Maddie, can you get him a snack downstairs? Go quietly and don't wake up Sophie, okay? Yeah, yeah, have some of those cookies. Cookies are amazing. Alright, have that, and if you're still hungry, we'll figure something else out. Alright, Maddie, put it downstairs and pick something, but do it quietly. Hurry up, don't wake up so alright. Alright, fine. Alright, go pick something out, bud. The Silver Valkyries. So, what Severn had done is she did some quick and dirty sketches. She told me she was actually inspired by the paintings that Rodney Matthews did, right? So he did these artist-proof paintings on the back, and he did some very detailed sketches that accompany the pieces that are being availed for auction. And so Severn is gonna be doing this for some of her upcoming artist paintings. You know, she's painted every one. She's not doing sketches. They're really nice paintings on each of her proofs. For the other cards of her set, you know, they're just coming slowly, take time. But let me see. I think the one I got a stack over here. Let me grab it quickly. The one is this the one? Where did I put this? Hang on a second here. I got a few sketches. I want to sure I showed the right one for the cards being auctioned tonight. Uh, no, it's these. So I put it aside. It's comparable. So she had a couple concepts that were similar to this, and it's a pretty decent sized sketch, right? I took a picture of it. I'm gonna have to zoom out a little bit. So each of these, and it's not like a super detailed sketch, but it's pretty nice, and it'll mirror the commission for each of the proofs. So it'll be an option that you could frame. They're scale, right? So some are very good sizes. You have them kind of like in this bordered frame thing, so it'll be very easy to frame. But you'll get the artist proof with the sketch, which is pretty slick and a great idea. Some of the artists are deciding to do that, and there's a variety of those that just came in over the past few days. Got too many. Alright, so that's the Valkyries. That's a 24-hour auction ending tomorrow, and then there is the Curio sketch card, which I think is in the basement. But what I wanted to show you guys, does anyone have any favorite cards from the you need to up your homeowner's insurance with all that art in your room. Yeah, dude. I'm cycling it through, so it comes in a little at a time because these proofs take a lot of time and effort because a lot of them are very detailed. To do any kind of painting at any kind of scale takes considerable time, even on these small artist proofs, and sometimes even more so because they're trying to paint it with a fine brush, in pretty nice detail. So, what I'm gonna show here, I don't know if we have any Vincent Pompetti fans, but what I'm gonna do is I have, like, several you'd be amazed at how many Pimpetti artist proofs are available now. So he sent me, like, a massive haul of these. He did about 4 or 5, I wanna say, probably about 5 of every card he has in the Alpha set. So he has about 25 cards in the set. He was the most commissioned artist for Alpha, and he has about 5 of each of these, right? So 5 times 25 is what, 125, artist proofs? It's an absurd amount. I ran several auctions on the higher end ones, you know, the uniques people tend to value, even though this is artwork, they tend to value it, based on card rarity and meta relevancy. So it does vary, and but they're all painted, right? And each intrinsically each painting is equally valuable. But there'd be a little bit of premium for some of the higher end rarity, you know, rarity in the actual set. They're all equally rare as artist proofs. There's 25 copies of each, plus the 4 from the Avatar of the Realm pledge tier. So those will be offered. I think I'll probably post like a claim sale in there's actually a SCR artist proofs and altars Facebook group you should go join. A lot of people are in the community group, but not in the artist proof and altars group. So I'll probably, you know, announce that in the Collector Arthouse Discord in the community group, and then but maybe launch the claim sale in the artist proof and altars group, and then people can go and comment and pick which ones you want. You know, so for example, I'll say there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sea serpents available. These are 5 sea serpents by Vincent Pompetti, and each one has an awesome acrylic painting. You know, he usually paints in watercolor. I think he did this in gouache and acrylics. So it's a really cool concept. You know, a lot of the artists they don't want to take commissions. I know some guys have been saying like, "Hey, I like to work directly with the artists and commission certain paintings," but I'm finding them really. all of the artists that I work with, have said that they would rather express their own creative vision, um, or do paintings that express their own creative vision. They're all very busy. They're getting, very, very heavily commissioned by Eric, which is awesome. So a lot of them are working on Arthurian Legends or even the set beyond that, maybe even 2 sets beyond, I'm not quite sure. There's only so much they could tell me because of NDAs and things. So all I know is that they're working on future sets, right? So they're very busy and they're trying to do these artist proofs in between them. So they don't really have the bandwidth to take on commissions and commit to any kind of regular timeline to do that. That's one factor, having the time to do it. The other factor is just the pressure of doing specific commissions, right? So sometimes fans are a little vague with their descriptions, and there's some implicit pressure on meeting expectations that comes with that. Or again, they just want to express their own ideas, and they're just not interested in painting whatever random ideas that fans have. So this is how they're selecting to approach it. It's really their decision. It's not mine. I just kind of facilitate whatever approach they want to do and offer a sales channel and some, advertising of who they are as people through the interviews, through my various network of channels and whatnot, and getting awareness of their work out there, which results in appreciation and value for their work. All right, so these are the ones that Vincent has available. These are all the sea serpent. So you take a look at the original art. You have the kind of sea serpent emerging from these volatile waters and attacking these little guys. If you look closely, there's a couple of these sailors, right, in this sailboat, and they're being engulfed by this massive sea serpent. And it says, "Submerged, waterbound, an ordinary beast bestrides the ocean." All right. So on each of these, he did a take on the beast as if it's coming at the viewer through the murky waters. So you got this was number 6, they're probably not in any kind of order. Number 3 of 25, 4 of 25. So those ones are fairly comparable. They're all a little different. 5 of 25. He just really does an amazing job of capturing motion and these abstract kind of water scenes. And the 2 of 25. Um, so I think some he kept, some he's making offers to people who bought original paintings and things like that. So that's why the numbers are kind of all over the place a little bit. Um, let me see. Let me just check here on the Discord. All right. So I'll make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh shoot. Okay. So we got a bid on the silver Valkyries is at 550, and the Curio sketch card is at 1650. So I got to update that on the Facebook group. I'll do that after the stream a little bit here. All right. So moving on next, we're going to take a look at the teleport. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 teleports. I don't want to leak that one. That is one that he had tagged for the original art owner. So I'll show him that privately. He bought the original painting. So this is an ordinary rarity teleport. 4 copies still available here. So let's take a look at each. So this one, now this is pretty interesting. Let's see if we can get this in sequence. Some of these he did kind of like a sequence concept. And of course, like it's unlikely that any one person's going to buy um, several of the same artwork, right? People usually like to collect a variety. But in a few cases, he had this cool idea where he was going to do like an evolution of an art piece. So here we have 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's actually almost kinda backwards. He has or actually, no. So what's going on here is he has the guy almost fully, exposed from this wave, or what is this? So this is a ordinary magic of abrupt real oh, let me get it under the camera. Ordinary magic of abrupt relocation. Teleport an ally to the surface of target site, right? So here you have this wizard-looking guy emerging to the surface, and then his artist-proof concept shows him emerge from the surface and then kind of fading back into the surface across the 4 proofs, which is really cool. So you fades to only see his hand coming out, but they all still stand alone, right? So they look cool in their own right, but if you piece them together, they tell a story, just like Tony Sulo's King of the Realm is going to show the evolution of the king. That tells a story, right? So several of the artists are working on similar concepts like that, where they want to tell a story over some subset of several of their artist proofs or the entire set of 25. And there's going to be another announcement that I'm working with coming in August or actually, we're in August. So this artist is working on some of the commissions, and then we'll make an announcement in probably end of the month or early September about some proofs will be coming next month in September. But this was really cool how he did teleport. You see it teleporting to the surface. So that series will be coming available. I think based on like the auctions kind of have established a valuation for the artist proofs. I think for Vincent's works, we talked about having maybe ordinaries at $400, um, exceptionals at 425, elites at 450, and uniques at 500. And then again, like so, I'll post and I'll say, hey, the Azurich Caravan proofs are available. Here's the four. Here's the four paintings, and then people can claim whichever one they prefer of the four or five that are available. Right. So the Azurich Caravan, an ordinary convoy of diverse kin and kind, has all elements and minion types. So pretty cool card. It's like a mid-range cost card, and you got a pack of caravans. I actually just sent one off today, I think it was. Was it? Yeah, this morning, to the original painting owner. So it's very nice. He's making deals and reserving pieces for the original art owners. So I think he selected number 5. So we got 2, 3. Oh, converted 2, 3, 4, and 6 because 5 was claimed, right? So the Azurich Caravan is kind of interesting because, again, a lot of the artists are taking elements from more detailed, complex pieces and highlighting a character from that piece. So what we have here is you have this soldier kind of like walking alongside the leader of the caravan, and here he emphasized him up on the hill, kind of leading the charge. He's got this like old school kind of Roman vibe, which is really cool and interesting. And then these ones, of course, are the Azurich Caravan leader, accented and portrayed in various ways. So there's number 3, pretty cool side profile shot. Number 4 and number 6, because 5 was claimed. 5 was a little more comparable to 4. Again, these are all like a bit different perspective. Some are more zoomed than others. Some show more of the scenic landscape in the background, as shown there on the left. But they're all pretty cool and interesting in their own right, and they all stand alone, and sometimes in aggregate tell a bit of a story. All right, so next up we have. Give me just a moment too. I want to update the auctions for everyone's awareness. So we got 550 bid on the Valkyries. Hey guys, don't wake up Sophie. 2 kids up, 1 kid down. All right. So we'll show these proofs, and then if we have time, I want to talk about some of the recent current events in sorcery and some interesting discussion we've been having in the Collector Arthouse Discord about what's been going on with curio cards, with fake curio cards. There was an incident that caused a big snafu recently and prompted an announcement from the company, which was good that they cleared that up quickly before anybody got taken advantage of. It was kind of interesting. I was talking to this guy yesterday. I was actually pretty interested if that was a legit curio because it was an interesting one. It seemed the concept seemed realistic because it was it looked like the original artwork from Francesca Berald for the back of her spellbook. Um, which is kind of like fitting thematically because they did it the sketch card curio, which is currently for auction, and I'm updating right now. So we got a 1650 bid from Jonah on that one. So let me update that. 1650 from Jonah. Discord. All right, we're at 1650 on the sketch card curio, which is interesting. We had a sale of that one several weeks ago. It sold for about $1,200 even, I want to say. And the market has definitely moved since then. We saw a big surge in booster box prices, which some believe had that domino effect on curios and some of the other higher end chase cards in the alpha set, which makes sense, right? The EV moves up and it matches kind of the box prices to some extent. They're somewhat correlated. So moving on now to Critical Strike. All right, let's take a look at Critical Strike from Vincent Pompetti. All right, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these still available. Critical Strike is an awesome, artwork. This is, one that I is one of my favorites from Vincent. I think it was purchased by another Vincent, like our buddy from the Discord out in France, so it's really cool. He got to go see Vincent at a couple shows, and I think, Vincent was able to sell him one directly at one of those shows since he bought his original painting, so that was pretty cool. You got to meet him a couple times at a few exhibitions that he did, and also Severin, I believe, too. So these are the 5 from Critical Strike. Take a look here on these ones. He's highlighting the soldier. All right, so that's number 4, the soldier in battle. You kind of see the colors he does on these are really cool too. What do we have next? Number 5. So you got, always an action shot from Vincent. That's kind of his hallmark. Um, so it's like a battle scene hiding behind the shield. Number 7, again, kind of old school Roman look. Looks like he's got the axe over his shoulder. So this is the warrior on the left here. Tell by kind of the headgear. It's a zoomed in look and profile of him with his axe weapon behind him. Really awesome. Here you got the soldier that he's battling with, again, in a defensive position behind his shield. Another really cool concept, 6 of 25 and 3 of 25. So a different take, slightly different, little different vantage point and perspective. And you see the battle in action, you know? So collectively, it kinda tells a story of the engagement and interaction between these soldiers in battle for the critical strike. Really cool style. A lot of people compare Vincent to, Frank Frazetta. They got a different, kind of finish style, I guess I would call it, or compositionally, but the way they capture motion in fantasy art is similar in some ways. I think, obviously Eric's a fan. He identified Vincent for this project. He's done a lot of comic books, so he's used to doing a lot of, like, sequence action scenes like this, and, you know, that it comes from comics, and it carries over into his work, and it's evident that, Eric's a big fan because he was the largest commissioned artist for the Alpha debut with 25 pieces that made it into Alpha, and he actually did more than that. They're just gonna be used for future sets. Um So again, let me pull it up on Facebook because again, I can't see when you guys are commenting through Facebook, I can't see who's actually making the comment. So I got to see if I can find my multicast link. And where is it? Where is it, guys? Blood splatter, blood splatter, splash art card awaited. It's funny because I think the first ever embellished print, like Vincent was one of the very first artists that I worked with in Sorcery, him and Severin. But Vincent was the first one that we did an embellished print concept. And a lot of you guys wouldn't remember this because this was well over a year ago in the very early days of Sorcery. Vince and I connected and decided to work together. I was really honored to do so, and we had this idea to do embellished prints in Sorcery, so we did prints of his, what it was called at the time was the Holmganger, which we found out much later ended up being the champion card, the promo card that came in the Innkeeper pledge. Um, so, I love that artwork, and I was like, "Hey, this has a lot of potential to be an embellished print, maybe we could do some concepts, embellishing the battle scene." So we showed, like, blood on the sword, as I recall, on the shield, on the ground, kinda showing the scene, some other things were embedded, some different coloration of the watercolor background, and, the alpha symbol on the rock, that you see kind of in the horizon of that piece. These are really cool. I love these red ones behind the shield. Um, so where's my screen here? Featured. Not all right, most relevant, most newest activity. There we go. All right. What the hell? Lost it. Um, comments. This is so jacked up on how do you guys watch this on Facebook? Oh, here we go. I'm looking at the wrong thing, that's why. Dave Sheedy. Sheedy, man, you gotta get on, is that Sheedy talking? Wasabu? So he owns one of the champion alts, Let me see what he says here. I own one of the champion alts. It's so special not knowing 15 months ago how cool it would be as a unique piece. Yeah. Well, it's actually pretty freaking bittersweet because I reached out to him when that painting was available. I wanted to buy it immediately, but at the time we didn't know it was gonna be an alpha. And I kinda like overanalyzed and second guessed myself and I didn't Jack, hey, no calling names, buddy. Kid's out of control. So I reached out to him, but it was like so like literally Eric revealed the champion. It was called the Home Ganger. It was called just what was it? I think it was just called the Home Ganger, or that's what we called it, you know? I was talking to him about his MTG Alpha collection. He calls his vault at BGS Home Ganger. And so he leaked this illustration for the champion, which we now know as the champion. At the time it was referred to as the Home Ganger. And I reached out to Vincent because the piece resonated with me and I asked him about it and I almost purchased it. But again, I second guessed it, ended up not buying it. And here it is, ends up being like the first promo besides Relentless Crowd in Sorcery. So it's kind of a big deal and a big regret I had. So we did the embellished prints as the next best thing, and that was pretty cool. So at least I have one of those. All right. So let's take a look now. We got Ghost Ship and Sandworm. I'm going to show you guys several proofs, and then we'll get into other topics and events. Let me see. Let me just hit up this one guy that was maybe going to join us and talk. I won't spoil what the topic was. He's trying to get his kid to sleep. So let me see. Invite. If anyone wants to come on too and just talk about sorcery, we might be able to make that happen. So let me know, guys. If you're just chilling and you want to come on and talk about a certain topic, I'd be game for that. It's only about a dozen of us right here, straight chilling. No heads up on this. So tomorrow, actually, let me see what I got in this box over here. Tomorrow morning, East Coast time, we got a 11 o'clock a.m. East Coast time, Eastern Standard Time. That is, we're going to open one of these sample packs. This is one of several that I have. We're doing sample pack breaks. So this is sold out, all 15 slots in the break, and we'll do another opening. This will be our fourth sample pack break. So that'll be a lot of fun. That one I did kind of pre-announce, so we'll talk about that. And let's get into a few more proofs. So Ghost Ship, right? Beautiful artwork by Vincent, a fan favorite. So we got the captain navigating the ghost ship, right? And it's interesting because I worked a commission for a fan on this. He posted it in the Sorcery Contested Realm community group. You guys can go find it there and also on his personal Facebook page. But he asked for a reimagined version, full scale painting of the pirate. And then we worked out a deal where he wanted an artist proof of Captain Baldessari, and on the back of it, you'd see the pirate ship, right? And then the pirate ship artist proof with the back of it is Captain Baldessari navigating the ship. So I think Vincent did a few in that vein. Here you have the captain navigating the pirate ship, and one of those. Here's a scene of a couple pirate ships. This one's really awesome because this one in the background kind of reminds me of One-Eyed Willie's pirate ship from Goonies. But it's awesome because if you guys are into like Vincent's style, this stuff is really cool because it really mirrors a lot of his work in these again these published comic books that he did, and these larger form books, like thicker books that have like a whole series of comics and stories, which are really beautiful, and they look a lot like this. They all tell a story and kind of evolve as a comic would in telling that story. Here you have again a different take on a captain navigating the ship. Really cool. Again, the captain, different take, number 8, and number 3, entirely different take on a pirate ship. So, really awesome. Sheedy's out of his mind, man. He's just saying random garbage. I should have known it was him. So these are all your different takes, significantly different. Everyone's kind of like a one of one in an artistic sense, right? Because they're all unique paintings. unique concepts. Next is the sandworm. All right, so we're getting through. He has a lot of ordinaries. 25 cards in a set. You end up with several ordinaries and different rarities. So the first of sandworm, these ones came out really great. Look how amazing this is of this guy on horseback navigating the desert. So the sandworm is an ordinary beast, swims seas of sand, right? So it's a different vantage point, navigating these seas of sand, burrowing and landbound. Only a soft saturation betrays the passing of these desert leviathans far beneath your feet, is the flavor text. Oh, omnibus is the term for a big collection of comic issues in one book. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what he does. He does these omnibus pieces. Of course, the LGS store owner is gonna know that. Yeah, so that's kind of like, Vincent's specialty. This one is incredible, 5 of 25. There's a lot of detail in this. Um, Again, a lot of action in all these. Wow, look at that. So there you have a zoomed in take on the sandworm. Again, the guy on white horseback about to be engulfed by the massive sandworm. Man, and this looks like a warrior right out of one of his I actually own a few of his books, so some of these kind of, I think, draw inspiration directly from those publications. I could kinda recall some of these from memory, and in the background, yeah, he has a little take on the sandworm. Hey, what's up, Andrej and Sean? What's up, guys? It's like they're mixing multiple cards together on some of the reverses. Yeah, absolutely. As we were talking about earlier. So here you have a, take on what this guy might look like, close up. Really cool. And the last one, wow, look at that. Very interesting how he portrays horses too, in a scenic background, in his signature style. Wow, really nice. All right, so the sandworm, that was a nice set. Here we go. We got some bangers coming up. All right, so we have some ordinaries. We're gonna look at what do we have here? Several, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the old salt Anchorman. So this is turning into a full Vincent feature. Old salt Anchorman. Hey, what's up, John? So we're showing off Vincent Pompetti artist proofs tonight. We're gonna have a claim sale. We're gonna list these maybe like each night, perhaps I'll list and I'll say, hey, the old salt Anchorman's available. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versions, and then people can chime in the comments and claim the fixed price. One of these that's their favorite, right? But I want to pre-announce it, so it's not like a race to the internet, first come, first serve. That's part of the benefit of the auction, so everyone has kind of like a fair fighting chance, and they can bid if they really want it. They can go aggressively and they can claim it, right? But in a claim sale, it's got to be first come, first serve. It's the only way to do it. It's kind of similar to going to a website, but it kind of fosters community within the different Facebook groups, right? Which are more social forums and opportunities for people to come together and admire the work and appreciate it and see it at a broader scale with a direct target market that's interested in sorcery and passionate about it and likes to collect these proofs. All right, so here you have a zoom in of the old salt Anchorman. Ah, interesting. So this one, a focus on the anchor. Look at that. That is now this one is a straight crossover, guys, because if I'm not mistaken, this is Captain Baldessari, right? It looks very similar to Captain Baldessari. This is an awesome piece. I love that. His style is very interesting. So some of these really are like crossovers. Someone made mention of that before. Um, Here you have the boat that the old salt anchorman is on, and then finally, again, a different take on the anchor. So we had 2 anchors, but they are unique and different, right? It's just a different vantage point, different perspective, and those are really cool, actually. And I didn't notice that when I looked at it first, but he has these sharks kind of navigating the waters behind, which is really awesome. Man, I love the, artistic expression and the storytelling that makes these pieces come to life. That's the beauty of artist proofs. You have the original take from the game itself, and then we have 25 opportunities, maybe 29 if the Avatar of the Realm pledge decide to get theirs painted. But at least 25 new takes on the story being told in each of these beautiful artworks. Really awesome. Every one a one of one, unique unto itself in various ways. The last anchor one looks like it's dragging on the bottom of the sea. Yep. So it's a little different take on this one. This one also looks like it kind of clunked down into the bottom of the sea, and you have these sharks, this school of sharks swarming. Man, those are nice. All right, so that's the old salt. We looked at sandworm. There we go, John. One of John Rothrock's favorites. I think, John, you might own the original piece, right? So the Rain of Arrows. This might be one you're interested in. One, two, three, four, five, six of these. Okay, so we actually did 6 Rain of Arrows. Let's take a look at the concepts. So many possibilities. And it's really cool to say, hey, what might the artist dream up for a piece like this, where you have this scene of all these arrows literally raining down on this army? Ordinary magic eclipses the sun, deal 1 damage to each above ground minion. Right? So the Rain of Arrows. Let's take a look. All right. So we have a zoom in on one of the soldiers. Again, a soldier looked kind of similar to that other one. The shield concept, the red shield, like we saw. I forget which one it was. But again, another zoom on one of the soldiers in battle with a different take than the first. Wow. I love that blue shield. That really popped. Just the color he does and the blends. Really nice. All right, 3 more. Okay, another zoom of a warrior. So all of them are kind of in this vein. It's like a different soldier plucked out of this battle scene. And then lastly, yet again, another. So each one unique unto itself, telling the story of the struggle of the Rain of Arrows. These poor bastards getting shot down in battle. The Rain of Arrows. All right, guys. So another one. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 overpowers we're going to take a look at next. And then you see peering off the side of the screen there, the Highland Princess. I only read half of this long ass message, but I think I like this take from Jeff. Let me see. Hilarious avatar photo. Because, like I said before, it's weird that people are not going crazy for AP versus alpha foils. I agree. If the front of the cards are true artist proofs / art samples from the printing process, then they are first edition. If the front of the cards are true artist proofs. Yes, you're saying, were these actually print? So you're talking about the print, the face of the print itself, and the card, the intrinsic value of the card itself, right? So the value of an artist proof is 2 things. It's several things. I don't want to limit to 2. So you have the novelty that it could potentially. Let me minimize your point here. So you have the novelty, the rarity, and the scarcity of there only being 25, technically 29 copies. The artist got 25. The 4 top pledge tier backers got a full set, right? So that's 4 more copies of every card. The other nuance is that they're square corner. And then the point that, so they're square corner versus a rounded corner in the regular alpha cards. And I am speculating, I have no evidence of this, but it is my guess that we're this close to beta. Artists have not received beta artist proofs. So there's a chance that these artist proofs might be exclusive to alpha for one. And if that's the case, only 29 copies exist outside of like maybe Eric kept the set for himself, right? Him and Nick Reynolds, who knows? But publicly 29 copies. And then if they're not printed for beta, which is largely a reprint, they could be alpha exclusive of these artwork illustrations. Next point. So the next point Jeff makes is that if these are true artist proofs, then they're kind of like the sample cards, in that they may have been printed before, like the first ever prints of these cards, of the alpha cards. So they're like the true first ever print. Now, we don't know that to be true. The sample cards are likely the first ever print. Those are the test print cards. These are actually, that is a fact. We know the sample cards are the first printed because some of those were not included in alpha, and some of the cards were raw and premature and largely modified and refined for the alpha debut. So these reflect the alpha debut. So they would have been printed at the same time or around the time of the alpha print. So there isn't, I don't think personally there's like a first printing argument to be made necessarily. I know, so you say like you're saying you're following up on your point because some art proofs, like in Magic, may or may not signature, but they literally art proofs as first run samples for proof of concept. Yeah. That's I don't think that's what this is. I think these were designed more as a collectible, as a reward for the artist. Artist proofs have become highly collectible and a way for the artist to earn, additional residual income in between releases. And that's very important here because we have annual, once a year set releases is what we expect. So these were not test prints per se. These are the final versions of the alpha card. They mirror all the same fiction detail with card titles, pipeline text, game mechanic, flavor text where applicable. So they're not first ever printed, but they're very rare. There's 29, and they're square corners. Which again, I'm thinking maybe he does that only for alpha because he's a student of Magic: The Gathering and draws a lot of inspiration from Magic. Perhaps we see rounded corner artist proofs if they exist for beta, or if not, going forward, maybe Arthurian Legends has artist proofs that are rounded corner. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But that's a possibility. It's a possibility they could be one and done, only printed once in these illustrations. I don't know. That's all the speculative points that make it interesting. But of course, what's most interesting is that they're all one of ones because they all have unique, interesting paintings in the artist's creative vision and different takes on these art illustrations, right? So here he has a zoom version of the soldier on horseback, laying down the hammer of the overpower. Is the symbol the at symbol or the copyright symbol? So it's the yeah, I see why I use the at symbol because we don't have the Greek alphabet on our keyboards, but it is the alpha. It's the alpha symbol. So again, there's not a first print argument here. The samples are truly the first print, and probably, based on my estimation, highly likely to be the most rare cards ever printed for Sorcery and the first ever printed cards. So those are probably the most rare, the most scarce, the first ever printed. Next, in terms of rarity and scarcity, would be the artist proof cards, because I believe personally that the curios are likely a pop 50 to 100. I would say at least 50 plus. Because think about it. I was making this argument in the Discord earlier today. Some of these curio cards, we've already discovered like 14 to 15 copies of those shared on social media. So if you have already, let's call it 15 copies of curios shared through social media, meaning Discord, the Discords, the Facebook groups, um, that is a very small representative sample size of the 29,000 boxes that were printed. 29,000 boxes is a lot of boxes, right? That's 17 plus million cards. So 15 out of that 17 million are curios. That doesn't mean that they're insanely rare necessarily. I mean, we do think the pull rates are pretty low and they are very rare. But my point is, if there's 15 already discovered in just the social media sample size of people who actually use social media and people who actually care to reveal that they discovered it and want to make that public, there's 15 already, right? So I think there would be an order of magnitude more that are likely in people's personal collection, not revealed, and or in sealed product that has not been opened. There's probably many thousands of boxes, I would guess, that are not opened. So again, I think that all adds up to say that there's probably 2, 3, 4, 5x times more than what has been revealed to date on social media. So I am guessing that curio populations could very likely be in the 50 to 100-ish range, and not 15 to 25 like some people think. That's just, simple math logic and how I get to that basis. All right. Uh, I think out of Cheerio social media is definitely 50. So there's been 16 variants discovered. I have them all documented on a page, a subpage within collectorarthouse.com. Go to www.collectorarthouse.com. You can see the 16 variants that have been discovered, and then there's been roughly like 5 to 15 of each one discovered. One was just discovered, the bridge trolls. There's only been a few of those, right? Um, but, you know, that's like 16 different variants, upwards of 15-ish found already and revealed on social media. So again, I think there's probably 2, 3, 4, 5 times that. Little pop of those. And, you know, they printed 100 of the Relentless Crowd promos, so maybe they just hit the easy button, so let's do 100 curios, 100 curio sheets, right? Maybe they're all on one single uncut print sheet, and, there you go. That's how I get to that. Alright, Overpower, wow, look at that, that's pretty sick. So I like to show it next to the regular art. So the guy's coming down and striking down with his sword. Man, a horse kicking up a lot of dirt. Another Overpower. Let me minimize this. Plus, there are many that are probably so subtly changed that it's still unnoticed. Yeah. So I think, like, obviously, the Eric's Curiosa sketch card curio is gonna be the most discovered, and, you know, we've seen about 15 of those, discovered. A lot are likely overlooked. A lot of people that opened a lot of boxes might have passed right over the bridge troll, for example. On the back, it says an Eric's Curio, um project instead of an Eric's Curiosa project, right? So that's very subtle. Like a lot of people aren't looking closely at the card back. So there's probably a lot of people that have to go back through bulk and find that they actually have some of those. All right, so here we have this guy's reigning victorious. You know, that's another cool thing. It reminded me of the another one you'll see up coming up here potentially. Wow, and this one is really cool, 6 of 25. He told me that this was almost kind of like his take on Frazetta's Death Dealer with this soldier storming into battle for the overpower. So that's really cool. Awesome. So if we're at 50 to 100 curios, Solar God says that's still extremely low. Absolutely. That's very, very rare. Because again, there's like 17,000,000 over 17,000,000 cards printed in those 29,000 boxes. So even if it's 100, I mean, I'm not arguing that, they're not rare. That's absolutely true. Alright, so we're getting the high stakes here. We only have, looks like 3 Highland Princesses. Alright, beautiful card. I think I auctioned one of these. So here you have a 9 of 25. Different take on the princess. 7 of 25. And 6 of 25. That's a really beautiful side profile. Really cool. Very colorful. And well done. Alright, Highland Princess. Withering Hero, man. This one is really cool. This one really reminds me of the Frazetta style. The background on this is amazing too. The backgrounds he does on these are incredible. It's a unique rarity, so this is a special one. 1, 2, 3, 4 of those that he's completed so far. It's the hero in the sunlight. The young hero with his long golden locks. Beautiful. 8 of 25. Very nice. Hey, what's up, Philip? Hey, buddy. What's going on? All right. And 7 of 25.
25.
You want to see abundance?
Yeah.
You see a parent off screen? All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of abundance. So this is the ultimate European style. Look at this. This is such a masterpiece. The mastery of depth perception here, the kind of mural on the wall. Man, just a really classic artwork. We weren't sure if this one was going to make it into alpha, and thank God it did. So here you have the relaxing lady basking in the sun, taking it all in. What's up, bud? Mommy home yet?
What?
Is mommy home yet? 6 of 25.
Mommy's over here.
Oh, she's already here?
Yeah. You just come.
Beautiful. Oh, watch the face, pal. Watch the
Boom.
face.
Boom, boom.
4 of 25.
425. 425.
And 3 of 25.
325. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Count them, baby.
5.
5.
5 in.
Should we show all the Pompettis? We got more, guys. Want to see more Pompetti?
Yeah.
Or
Do more. More.
what else can we show here?
More.
Hey, hang on, bud. Dude, you're gonna make me puke with this rocking.
Not a rocking chair.
This is when you rock it.
This is
I'm gonna start puking. You know I get sick. You know I get motion sick.
Oh.
Hang on, bud. All right, hang on.
Why? Just to wash the colors.
It is a lot of cards. A lot of proof cards. All right. All right, let's do more.
Yeah, let's do some more.
All right, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Backstab.
What's 3?
No, it's 4.
3.
No, you missed the first one.
You missed the first
All right, backstab. These are really cool. I'm going to show these in sequence after I reveal them. So you got the guy sneaking with the dagger.
Sneaking?
To slip in there for the stabbing. Lurking behind the pillar. Really cool, different take.
Yeah.
Before he backstabs the guy. Wow, look at that. Super cool. And number 2. All right, so we got 2, 3, I think 4 soul. So let's see if it tells a story. You got the guy waiting behind the pillar, coming in for the strike, cocking back for the backstab, and Baba Booey.
Baba Booty.
Baba Booey. This guy kind of looks like Baba Booey. Just noticing that. So that, Jack, come on, man. Come on, you're killing my good hair day, dude.
Okay.
Look at his clutch here. Oh, look at this guy. Look at this. What's up, man? What's up, champ?
How are you?
Wait a second. Wait, I got you muted. Hang on.
Hey, champ.
Hey, champ.
Hey, champ.
Hang on. Let me get rid of my echo cancellation or something here. There's some kind of echo problem. Gosh. What's the deal here, Jack? Reduce mic background noise. Nah, that's not it. Why does it echo? You know what it is? Jack, do you know where my earpods are? Downstairs?
I'm not getting any echo on
You
my
know where
end.
the keys are? Oh, you got no echo?
No. Sound
All
great.
right, if it's just me, I could deal with it. I hear myself echoing because
I didn't know that.
All right, dude.
You sound like a little boy.
I need to look where the car keys are for the AirPods. Be careful there. What's up, dude?
Not much. How are you?
Good. So this is the champ Angerworm. Took it all. Do you have the painting anywhere handy? The champion's prize?
I'd have to pull it out.
All right, I won't make you grab it out of storage. Hey.
If you give me a minute, I'll do it.
Can you look for my AirPods where the car keys are?
Be right back.
Downstairs. Because Jack doesn't know what to do. Oh, he's getting it. You can hear Jared? All right. Sweet. All right, let's look at some more proofs. Maddie, can you look for the AirPods? Please.
What?
You know, they might even be in like car armrest. That could be problematic. Damn it.
Boom, yeah.
All right.
You're right. You're right.
He's got his art prize. All right, so here we have the Imperial Road. Wow. Man, I love this one.
I love this one so much.
Isn't that cool, Jack?
Yeah.
The zoom in by the road.
So cool.
This one to take on the pillar. Yeah. Jack, don't put that from the camera, man. People want to see the paintings.
I think I'm going to see this painting.
And the final pillar. All right.
Then we'll help you. Oh, yeah. One.
And you got the aqueducts in the background. Oh, man. There it is. Oh, wait.
There you go.
All right, man. Hang on. Wait, that one he saved for somebody. I leaked it. All right. Let me, wait, hang on. Let me do a switcheroo. All right. There it is, guys. The Nix Ignis. The champ in his crown. The crown that wasn't meant to be. So Angerworm is fresh. Wow, that looks amazing, man. I'm telling you, Eric needed to send that to me. I was waiting. I was like, come on, man. You know, it's my favorite painting. What?
Look at those details.
Yeah, that is their hallmark. Incredible detail. I'm gonna have to stop by and check that out. It looks amazing. You got pretty good lighting there too. It really glows.
It blew me
Okay.
away when I saw it. I actually
it's unbelievable.
this I thought was maybe my third favorite. I still think I like Air a little bit more, but I'm moving this up to number 2. But I mean, they're all gorgeous. So what am I really talking about? Amazing. One more look. Say goodbye.
Incredible. It's always been
Now,
my
what do
number one.
you think? Should I wait 3 years to frame it, or
You probably
Right,
should.
right.
Yeah. Let it
Yeah.
marinate a little bit.
all right?
yeah.
Don't rush to any conclusions.
Yeah,
Let me put it away
Keep
before
going,
something
brother.
stupid happens.
So I'll tell you when he gets back. Jack, in the car. No, don't mess with the car.
Yeah.
It's a bad idea. It's a bad idea.
Yeah.
All right, let me hang on. Jack.
Hello,
Jack.
bye. What are you saying?
Let me do one of these. Important your audio. Oh wait. Hey, I'm back. Is the audio good? Wait, I'm muted. All right. You guys hear me all right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
You guys getting good audio?
Oh yeah.
Jared's gonna come back, the champion.
Uh,
Jack, watch TV, dude. Come on. Man, he's waiting for you. Come on. Come on, dude.
I'm gonna stay with you.
I wanted to stay up late. You gotta go listen.
I'm gonna stay
I'll
with
come
you.
back in a few minutes.
I want you.
All right, just don't flash anything in front of the camera. Bit of an echo now? Damn it, I messed something up. All right. Oh, I see. Hang on, guys. All right, how we doing now? Better? Oh, wait a second. There we go. Echo gone?
All right.
How's it on your side, man? You get an echo?
Yeah, you sound good.
Okay. Let me remove this and do that. So, dude, let's talk about Gen Con. How was the turnout? What was the vibe like? Were a lot of people seeing the cards? Like, so Eric's and what? All right. So, the marketing strategy from day one, in my estimation, based on comments from Eric, is that people were going to see these cards out in the wild at LGSs, at Gen Con, all these different places, and then it would just sell itself. They'll go nuts for the art. They'll be like, hey, what's going on there? Let me check out this game. Then they'd see people playing the game, and then they'd be sold on the gameplay. So was Gen Con accomplishing that? Were new people that weren't showing up specifically for Sorcery seeing you guys in action and asking questions?
I would say that there were definitely some people who came by and took notice. The Gen Con is very location dependent, and there's a ton of foot traffic, but a lot of people are going down major lanes to see certain things or to access certain events.
Mhm.
So where it was located was good in some ways and not ideal in others, because it was right next to the main concession in the gaming hall. So there was a lot of foot traffic just because that's where you could buy food and water, and soda and whatever else. So in that sense, I think some people passed by that wouldn't have otherwise. There are more optimal locations right next to the major walking paths. But I definitely noticed some people came by and were like checking it out. They're like, "Oh, I'm just looking," and people were readily available to answer questions. It definitely caught people's eye, and more importantly, the people that had never played before and had just heard about it and got the demos really seemed keen on it. I had only one person that I spoke to that said he didn't like it.
Nice.
All weekend, and
Nice.
and all the demos were full. Most of them were given to people who hadn't played before. whenever there were absentees, those slots filled up. So it wasn't like people went without like there were empty tables. There weren't. The main event was, I think, 28, which you're always going to get drops for. And there were people that were looking to fill in. I know at least one person like couldn't manage it last minute because he wasn't comfortable making a deck list at the last minute, and it's a little more formal. So I think it may have scared a couple of people away, but that's just constructed. And yeah, I thought it was, the vibes were amazing and the event was really well run. My perspective on this one was that it was almost like a preview, not like a debut, because there's no retail product. So you know, it was for the lucky people who knew enough to check it out. And yeah, it was really good. It was really good. And you know, there were at certain points there were people looking for demos that couldn't get in because the slots were filled. But like I had brought my pre-con decks, I was able to demo people outside of the formal event, like just tell people to pull up. They didn't get any product, but they got to play the game and see how it felt. And I know I lent my pre-cons to a buddy of mine. He taught somebody else, so it was great. Cheers to Gen Con.
Is the so the people that would you say that like mostly the people that showed up are kind of like the early adopters that have been active in Discord that we know from the community, or is it a mixed bag?
There were a lot of people who did not have any product. For the constructed event, I would say it was more people with product. But for the learn to plays, a lot of people were just getting their first cards, checking out the cards, learning for the first time. So it was a lot of new players that were very excited and were discovering the game in person.
Nice. So you said like everyone except one guy was liking the gameplay. What were the backgrounds of like people coming to play? Where were they from? Magic or Fab or all different walks of life?
There were definitely some Fab players. I mean, I obviously didn't do any kind of like, most of the conversation I had, unless I was directly demoing somebody, was just peripheral, and it was more about being available for rules questions. Like, how does this work? How does this work? And we were kind of hovering around, right? So like, two people would walk up to the learn to play, sit across from each other. If they had absolutely no knowledge, they would get much more of an instructional on like how to open the game and how to get the ball rolling. But if they had a little bit of know-how, then we kind of like let them just hover until they had questions for us, so that they kind of had the organic experience. I know there were a lot of card game players there, because most people have played Magic that I spoke to. And there were definitely board game. I know at least one or two people like were checking it out because it looked more like a board game. But I think most people had played Magic. Some were from Flesh and Blood.
Okay. How'd you figure out how to turn that light on? He's blinded me with my...
You're giving me shit. My daughter's in bed. You got a maniac running around turning lights on, shooting laser beams.
It's hard to control.
Yeah.
All right. What is this guy?
I'm learning that.
We got a question on the Peanut Gallery. I'm curious how many alpha boxes were sold, opened, and what the polls were. There was zero coverage. But so were people opening boxes at the event, or was it more about playing the game?
So there were draft pods. There were 4 pods of 8 people, each with 3 packs. So that's 24 packs per pod. So that's several boxes. And on top of that, it was about a box per pod, because on top of that, you got a pack for every win in your draft. And then I think the winner got 2 extra packs. Plus he got the crown promo and the box stopper. So there were 3 drafts, because I played in 3 drafts. 3 drafts with that, so there were 12 boxes there. Plus there was prize support on top of that. They were very generous with the constructed event too. Everybody wound up with at least a pack, and if you had won the majority of your games, you got more. So they were slinging alpha. You could get a lot of alpha product. I came home. Cool. I had like the better part of a box worth of sealed packs, on top of the 3 packs I got for every draft.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there was a lot of product.
I said that
They were very generous, I think. If you did the learn to play, you got one of the pre-con decks, and you got a pack also.
Mommy.
As for polls, my buddy got I know my buddy got a Philosopher's Stone. Listen, man, this is one of the
Non-foil?
luckiest weekends. Non-foil.
Okay.
So the staff did a draft on Thursday night. So the volunteers, they hooked us up with a free draft. Everybody was so burnt out and tired, but we still drafted anyway. And I pulled a foil Death Dealer. And then I know at the Team Covenant thing, there were a lot of packs flowing too, because they gave us enough for I believe it was sealed. So that's
so they we're rewinding back. The first night you got there, was it a planned thing that Team Covenant was going to host Jeff and Drew Tucker, or was that just kind of like an impromptu thing?
I mean, it was definitely a planned thing, but I don't know how far in advance it was planned, because they only mentioned it like, I think it was like a week before or so. So
okay.
It wasn't that much notice. Maybe it was a little more than that, but I knew that I wasn't sure I was going to be there in time, because we kind of do it in a crazy fashion. Like, my buddy who's in Albany drives down, picks up my friends from Brooklyn. They come down, pick us up in Maryland, and then we go.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a 18-hour drive for them, but for us it's 9.
Damn. So what was it like in the Discord the week before? Team Covenant,
Yeah,
like, hey, we're going to host
said,
dinner. Everyone's invited.
Yeah, something was said in the Discord, and then it was like, oh wow, and then
that's awesome.
Yeah. Drew and
Jeff.
Did
they say that Jeff and Drew were involved, or they pulled in at the last second there?
I believe that was mentioned ahead of time, but or something hinting about that. I can't remember the details. A lot has happened since then.
So was it your first time meeting them? The artists?
Yeah. I had never met them before.
Mm-hmm.
They're super nice. I had spoken to Drew previously.
Okay.
And I think Jeff answered one Discord comment I made once or something, but that doesn't count. But Drew and I were talking.
You there the day, in my Discord, the Collector Arthouse Discord? Jeff just kind of emerged out of nowhere. We were talking about
I remember that.
The valuation of art, and he was like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "I had a bunch of paintings in the early '90s that I sold for, $100." And I was like, "Oh man, everyone's got a story like that. Which ones did you lose?" And he's like, "Well, I'm Jeff Menges." And he was like, "I sold them all." And I was like, "Oh shit! I had no idea he was in the Discord."
Yeah, they're really cool guys, and they have this vibe, been there, done that vibe, and like Drew Tucker. I mean, that guy is super chill. I want to drink his blood to calm down. He's very mellow, super relaxed, really nice to talk to. Because I went and I got some cards signed by their booth. I had no time till the very last day, because we did the dinner on Wednesday. Thursday I did learn to plays, and I just wanted to be at the thing all day so I could front load my contribution. I drank a little heavily Wednesday, so it was a hard road on Thursday, but it was good, and it really seeing people play and getting to help them out actually gave me a lot of energy. Thursday was an all day thing, and then Friday was an all day thing too, because I did the learn to plays in the morning, and then I did the draft in the afternoon, and I didn't want to go nuts because I knew the constructed was on Saturday. So but Gen Con does this kind of silly thing where the vendor hall where all the artists are opens at 10 and closes at 6. So if you're doing events, especially all day events, you have no time to go to the vendor hall. So you have to schedule a gap.
Did you you learn mostly by playing on Tabletop Simulator, and or were you just, was it pretty competitive, or were you beating up on noobs at the event?
It was a mix for me.
Okay.
First game was against Ira, who's the game developer.
Yep.
And definitely one of the best players.
I'm sure he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's really good. And that was
Yeah.
we looked at each other and we're like, right out of the gate. All right, cool. So I was lucky to win that one.
Yeah, you know what's wild about him though? I remember the day we were all. I think were you there in the early days of the Discord, the official Discord, in like September of 2021? I guess it was roughly October.
Not the very no. I came
Okay.
around when the
Yeah.
Kickstarter started.
I think like Simon was there first. You know, I joined a week or two after him, and then like all of a sudden, I want to say like in the latter part of the winter or early part of the next year, like Ira just showed up out of the blue, and I
Yeah.
still remember this because I ended up hiring him. You know, he became significant, but he
Like-
was just like a guy that just showed up one day in Discord, and he was like, "Hey, what's this game?" He started asking a million questions, and then next thing I know, like a couple months later, he's an employee, and he's
Like
like
a
one of the
game-
key developers. So
a
it's pretty
game
wild.
development angel. was
Yeah.
his name to
So I
help
don't
the
know what
game
his
out.
background is, but like
He's a
I
super.
remember like when he was just an average guy in Discord, just showed
Yeah.
up and had no idea what the game was, how to play it, and now he's like designing it. Pretty
And
unreal.
he's a really smart, clever guy.
Yeah.
So they're lucky to have him.
That's cool.
And yeah, and I was unlucky to play him, but
So
I
he
pulled
beat
it
you?
off.
Or
Huh?
was it single elimination? Did
It
he
was-
beat you?
He did not. I won all my games.
Okay.
But it was such that if you dropped a game, you couldn't win
Okay.
because somebody was going to wind up being 5-0. So
Yeah.
yeah, it worked out where I played the eliminator versus the other 4-0, and that was that.
Nice.
So I played him. I played Mean Mugging Mike,
Yep.
who's an experienced player. I played one guy who basically he wasn't brand new, but he had to kind of scrape together a deck. So that wasn't that was probably the match where it was the most. I came in with the most advantage, and I played another Death Speaker player who actually beat one of my good friends, who's a very good card game player. I think he got, like, you always need a little luck, but he was a competent player. He was 3-0 when I was 3-0. And like I just that game I was very lucky. Everything just lined up perfectly.
Yeah.
I played a Grandmaster on a, you don't know what I'm talking about, but I played, the Geistwood. Remember the guys like the
Yeah.
from the art, right? So the
Yeah.
Grandmaster lets you draw 3. Geistwood, if you die on the Geistwood, you get your Genesis ability, which lets you draw 3. So I played the Grandmaster on the Geistwood. He stuck, which meant he went back to my turn. I then played Pact with the Devil on him, which killed him, which let me draw 3 more and 3 more. Which is like, I was like, okay, well, if I lose with 9 cards, plus I can play them out of the graveyard now, I am very bad at this. But I didn't even need all that. Like, things were just going really well that game.
Yeah, so every game has some aspect of RNG and luck, like you said.
100%.
Like where on the spectrum would you say sorcery falls? Because you hear sometimes these anecdotes where you have these big splash cards that can really tilt a game or really change the trajectory of a game, like on a dime, right? Is that like common though, or is that like the odd end rare opportunity that you draw your one unique out of your deck?
So so sorcery does a couple of amazing things from card game design. The resources, because the resources are in a separate deck, and because you're always drawing 3 and you're drawing 3 spells, you're always guaranteed to have a seeding of the resources you need. On top of that, the mulligan system is really, like, most people don't talk about this. The mulligan system is really brilliant because if you get a card, like one card that you really want, but the rest of your hand is useless, you can just discard the useless part and keep that key card. And that's a big deal. Because in Magic, you draw a hand, you may love your cards and have no mana, you got to dump the whole thing.
Yeah.
So that's a huge difference. Like, if you're looking for one card, you can dump the 3 that you don't want and go draw 3 fresh. So that's really nice. I think that's a really great part of it. And then lastly, the more obvious thing is that every turn you get to choose what you draw. So when you need a land, you can get a land.
Yeah.
So those are all mitigators of RNG, like the feels bad RNG. Now, what you put in your deck, sometimes you draw the wrong card at the wrong time, and that's just card games. The other thing is, the other randomness is, it's like sometimes you draw a card a turn too late, and it would have made all the difference, and or you you know, you need a certain thing in a matchup that you didn't see a lot of that. You saw a lot of the thing that doesn't work as well. But that's just card games. That's not unique to sorcery.
Yep.
The thing about it is, I would say my games, especially my game versus Ira and my game versus Zalem, came down to a couple of small decisions that I think either like a mistake was made or a good choice was made, and those were the margins by which the game was won or lost. Because especially like my last game, we both wound up on death's door. My game with Ira, I put him on death's door probably the turn before he would have done it to me. I believe that might actually have been exactly how it played out. So we're talking like being one turn away from losing. Whoever goes on death's door first is probably going to be the one to lose. And in my game versus Zalem Adam, I wasn't like, I was very confident because I had 11 life and he had 0. He was on death's door, and then he made a play and he took me to death's door. I needed to beat him that current turn because he had all the cards he needed to win the next turn. So I had to like slow down and be like, wait, how am I going to do this and get out of this? If I had the wrong cards, I would have lost that game. So narrow margins.
Nice.
But here's the other point. With these kinds of games, like I come from miniature wargaming. There is a variable amount of random luck involved. But no matter what, the player has to know how to navigate that. The same way a poker player has extreme range of hands that they play. You know, it's narrowed by multiple plays over time, but the outcomes are highly varied, and yet skilled players should win more often than not. And I think that's very true of sorcery. And it doesn't have like poker level randomization, but a lot of people like to say, oh, the game's too random, it's no skill. Randomization and skill are not connected. They're only connected in the sense that maybe the margins of victory and defeat narrow, but the good players are still going to ride those margins at the peak, and the bad players will still be down here, right? Even if you narrow the margins, skill players, it becomes all the more important that you get to this level, right? And make no mistakes.
So can you architect a deck that plays pretty similarly, you know, game to game, or are there cards that are so splashy either in your own deck archetype or the one you're playing against that every game is like wildly different and there's a pretty heavy element of chance, I guess?
So a lot of the power cards are ordinaries or exceptional. So you do tend to see, like, the most powerful card I would say in my deck going into the event was Thunderstorm, which is an exceptional. And I saw it. I didn't see it every game, but I saw it most games, which is exactly what I wanted it. You know, that's why I took 3. But
3 copies.
There are very powerful cards like the Philosopher's Stone. It's great when you see it and you need it or you want that opener. Most often you're not going to see it. So it does change the game, and it like puts you a turn ahead on casting spells. It really varies card to card whether it breaks the game open for you or not. But you cannot, as a player trying to win, you cannot depend on your uniques, because you might not see them. You might not see them the whole tournament.
Well, so the cards with the library and search mechanics and or card draw, do those really work well to accelerate your discovery of uniques, or is it still highly variable and people don't really archetype decks around their uniques to really drive their deck?
You can't. I don't think we're at a point where you can build around a unique. The tutors are narrow or unreliable. Browse is the big one because it lets you dig for 7. Dream Quest, your opponent gets a say, right? Like if they do a damage to you, you wake up and you don't get to do the Dream Quest. Other digs are for 3 or 1. The best tutor is Common Sense, which is an ordinary that lets you dig for ordinaries, which is great. I mean, like Grapple Shot is an ordinary, and that's maybe one of the best cards in the game. So now you have a tutor for it. So you basically doubled your number of grapple shots.
Yep.
But yes, like digging for a unique is not reliably present at this time. The only exception is Highland Princess can go let you fetch one of the cores or the stone, which is kind of cool. She could let you fetch like Kythera also, if that's kind of what your deck is built around. So that's like a second copy, right? Because she lets you go do that. So she was cool in the Death Speaker because not only does she let me fetch one, but if she dies and I recur her, I then get to fetch a second one, which is great ramp. The game I saw her though, Ira used it against me, and he used it to ramp, so it wasn't the best.
Yeah, I was just showcasing Vincent Pompetti artist proofs before he came on. I don't know if you caught any of that, so I'm looking at the.
I just caught the 3 laid out.
Okay, yeah, the Highland Princess. Search your spell Genesis. Search your spell book for an artifact that costs 1 or less. Reveal it and put it into your hand. Shuffle.
Yeah.
So it's a minion with fairly low casting cost. It's a unique though, right? So to your point,
she's unique.
You know, to even draw that tutor mechanic and then parlay it into another one you need, it's low probability.
Yeah, so I look at her as a second copy of the stone or cores. That's how I've been using her so far.
Okay.
I'm sure there will like she's like a timeless classic, right? The more relics that come out at one cost, the better she'll be.
And you and I almost bought that painting, right? We both passed.
Yeah, that one was
that and the champion. You know, my 2 regrets from Vincent.
That one especially because it's like it's an undeniably beautiful painting. The colors are fantastic. I really like the painting. I just kind of was thinking to myself, what am I going to just hang a princess on the wall?
Yeah. Yeah, you know what?
As
much as I love like all the paintings, I bought several, but I'll only buy one that is like independently displayable outside of the dependency on the game. You know, like there's some that like are really cool looking and flavorful, but they're just like too freaky fantasy that like, you know, I'm not really gonna.
Don't say.
If sorcery fails, you know, that's pretty suspect to hang a painting like that, right?
Yeah.
Like I like one. That's why I like Modesty and I don't know, the Severn one. I got Predestination, which is now Kythera Mechanism. The ones that are like aesthetically independent and beautiful on their own, those are the ones I really targeted.
Yeah,
but Highland Princess was in that category. I was like, well, but again, you're right. Like, is the wife gonna let me hang a beautiful woman on the wall?
Yeah, and she's like a redhead. It's kind of like, what are you trying to say?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But
so that one I passed on. Homeganger, I feel like I could get away with. Like I'm into those ones that are more like war oriented. You know, I got the Gilded Aegis. Was kind of cool. Just like I wanted a Seagrave, you know, and that was pretty cool. Like the intricacy of the shield. I like that old school classic type vibe too. So I got a nice
Kite
variety.
Archer is amazing.
Kite Archer?
Yeah, that's a beautiful painting. Like it's a beautiful painting of an archer. So when I was started buying art, I was a little like clueless, I would say. So I didn't quite wrap my head around how much I was willing to spend on art. And so I missed the window on some stuff. But I feel like every piece I have, I feel super privileged to have. And like that culminating with the mix is, I mean, that's like a dream come true, especially since I've gotten more into surrounding myself with sorcery art. So the home run.
Yeah, you know what? I own several of Elvira's sketches, so I think I have the sketch for the Mix Ignis.
Oh, really?
So we're related and divided in a way. we'll both feel incomplete unless we have the other.
You're the Danny DeVito, though.
Yeah, I know. You're the real deal. You're Arnold. Twins. All right. So let's see if people have questions here. Yes, people are validating grapple. I know grapple shot's a big deal in the game. Yeah, Philip Joe is really chasing some art pieces. He was late to the game. So the people that are more late to sorcery, the valuations, of course, have gone up significantly. It more reflect fair value, in my opinion. But early on, they were underpriced and mispriced. I think there's a lot of like artists that have never done the TCG before and really didn't know how to value it and price it. And now it's evolved significantly, and they're harder to find. You know, they're just sold. It's already changed hand once, so people that own them are all asking like $5,000 plus. You know, on a resale. It's tough.
It's an impossible thing to say what the right price is. Like I think some of the artists were very fairly priced for, like, they knew what they wanted to earn off of the painting, but they're not familiar with the nerd frenzy that can go on with CCGs, and they weren't pricing that into it, and that's fine because it's a brand new CCG. So like, I think on one end you have people pricing in things like Magic level, like some of the art pieces are selling for Magic art level prices, but Magic has 30 years of history and is $1 billion industry. Now, I love Sorcery and I see its potential. So you have to factor that in, and you have to factor the optimism of, like, I'm here on the ground floor. These are pieces of alpha art. What will it be worth? I don't know. So like, I've spent a lot and I've spent a little, and as long as I'm happy with the piece, I feel like okay with it, right?
Yeah, I think you hit on the
like,
you also hit on the counterpoint to your own argument, though, because Magic's been around for 30 years. So the other effect is that art is, I don't want to say like diluted or commoditized per se.
No, that's exactly what it is. Diluted. You're right.
Yeah. So Louis was talking about on his channel the other day how there's like, actually, you know what? It was Post Malone did like a thing with Joe Rogan.
Yeah,
and he was saying that there's like 60,000 Magic cards or something, like insane number, right? So there's like 60,000 paintings out there. Like, imagine the choice that those. Sure, there's millions of players, but they're not all art collectors. It's like a smaller segment that's into the art, so there's a lot more choice. Whereas in Sorcery, there's less available. 400 seems like a lot, but it's largely sold now. Except you know, you could get pieces from the artist still here and there, but it's a smaller pool. It's optimism and alpha. You know, that's always going to carry a premium. But like, the other thing is like the psychology of it from the artist perspective. There were so as I mentioned, a lot of the artists had never done TCGs before. I think they came in from their outside art world and exhibition, you know, circuits and whatnot, thinking that like there's no way these gamers are going to spend a lot on some of these pieces. And plus they were like tailored for the purpose of the game. So like a good example is what is the princess that or the queen that Severin did?
Queen of Midland.
Yeah, Queen of Midland and the Silver Valkyries. And I remember when I reached out to her for Predestination, now known as Kythera Mechanism, I purchased that one, and she still had those available, and they were like, I want to say $600 top. They might have been like $500. I'm talking about Queen of Midland and Silver Valkyries. And I really thought hard about Silver Valkyries. I was like, I asked her, I was like, why is that price so low? And she was like, it's just not my best work. You know, I don't like it meant nothing to her because she sells like paintings outside of Sorcery for $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, you know, for like her larger, more intricate pieces. So she just didn't think anything of it, but you know, she didn't understand the tie that it was alpha and it's tied to TCGs, and there's actually money in TCGs.
I'll say two things about Severin.
Yeah.
One, like she produces some really like unbelievably beautiful art, right? And it just seems to be her default. Two, she seems like a really sweet person, and she just exudes that sweet charisma. So I'm a big fan of hers just off of those two things. No, I totally like. I was going to say the same thing. Like, yes, Magic has diluted the market. That's kind of their problem on many fronts, right? And there is no, you cannot directly compare the two for exactly like what we both said, right? Like this is a budding game, and it's got a lot of people excited for the future. Magic is an established game that has burned a lot of people, but has a lot of hardcore fans, but has expanded beyond anybody's expectations, and nobody has ever experienced anything like that before. And art is peripheral to all of this and its own thing, so it's a very individualized taste-based market. So ultimately, like, it's worth what people will pay, and you know, if the artists are getting more money, I think that's an undeniably good thing. Even though it's sad, like when you miss the boat and you look at art that you're like, fuck, I could have bought.
Yeah, I know. Too many regrets. This early on too is really wild, right? Like the game just came out a couple months ago, and we're like, shit, we missed on all these paintings.
Yeah,
It's wild.
There are a lot of, somebody was saying there's not a lot of original art. There's a lot of original Magic art. I was
Yeah,
actually
absolutely.
surprised when I looked into it. A lot of the stuff that looks digital is hand painted.
Yeah,
Blew me
there's
away. I was
amazing
like,
Magic
wow.
artists for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Drew does traditional for Magic. You know, he had some at Gen Con, and that same ones he had at IX Card Show, at least a few that didn't sell. But that's great. He got a few sales there. I heard Jeff did pretty well and sold a few at Gen Con. So that's good. You hit a huge audience at Gen Con. So
He
they're
sold
moving.
he sold almost every painting he had for
Who, Jeff or
Drew.
Drew?
I
Yeah.
think both of them. But
Hmm.
I don't think they had much left at all. I think all Drew I saw had left was Mirage, which I love, but
Yeah.
it was $6,000 and I could not
Was
do
it?
that.
Yeah.
But,
That's a nice
but
one.
he sold every other one that was $5,000 or whatever. So
Right. I think a bunch are around 5 for him. Yeah. They're nice, man. I've thought long and hard about a few of his. I've spent so much. I own so many already, so I'm trying to pace myself. And then like I'm kind of obsessed with curios, but that's like a whole other discussion because after that bronze sale, people are just out of their minds on these curios. They think
yeah,
everything is like, oh, bronze 11K, then mine's got to be like 5, right? You know, like come on, like it's not playable.
even the trash
and, like,
ones,
dice roll.
even the trash ones.
The trash ones, yeah. Of course I love the historical non-playable ones, which
Sure.
are like the riskiest because like in the history of TCGs, the most meta relevant and highly playable cards are the ones that carry the most value. So to have like a card that's extremely rare but purely collectible, is that going to stand the test of time? I mean, that can be debated. So like when you're spending 4 figures on a card like that, you're rolling the dice and it makes me nervous. I don't know.
Well, look, if the truth of it is, I think if sorcery becomes a massive game that is beloved, and I think it has the aspects that make people fall in love with it because it appeals on multiple fronts. The gameplay is really great. I've really enjoyed it, and I
Mm-hmm.
played a lot of games for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But it also has this. It has like the mystery of the curios, and it also has this appeal because the cards are beautiful. They're no borders. They look magnificent. There's something modern and old school about them. The art is great. It's all hand painted. It's got this boutique feel to it, right? So it's got these different appeals. So if this cauldron bubbles and creates the concoction for future success, I think that everything that's highly collectible will be worth quite a bit. The true audit, like if there are 50 copies of a card from Alpha Edition and this game lasts 10 years, I think that's going to be valuable. But I think there's more concrete value in cards that are alt versions of things you can play, especially super bombs that are like some of the best cards in the game. I think there's more value there, but it's a very, again, this is like curios are kind of like art, right? It's very personal what
Yeah.
appeals to you. Obviously, the Death Speaker is the best.
Yeah.
Because it's got the artist, it's got the great, it's an avatar, it's got the
Right.
great card. Death Speaker's freaking awesome. Obviously, I'm a fan, and
Yeah.
it's a curio. So
Yeah, it makes sense with that one and the Frazetta. I mean, yeah, the Death Dealer, to your point, like being an avatar. The thing with avatars, so that's a good question. It brings up a good point. One of my worries if you're going to invest in like, say like you're looking at a painting from an investment perspective or a card for that matter, like these foil cards that are going for a couple grand for the high end foils or the avatars, several $100 is a lot to some people too, right?
yeah,
Do you think there's a chance that these alpha avatars can be rendered obsolete in future sets? Like what, I mean, anything is possible, right? What if in Arthurian Legends you introduce you're playing with like Lancelot or King Arthur or whatever, and those are the avatars, and like it doesn't make any sense to play with Death Speaker or something. You know what I mean? They
yeah.
could be completely obsolete, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's no denying that once you make a set of cards, the tendency in all games is to, as you run out of design space, okay, we've already done this. We know what this looks like.
Yeah.
What are we going to do for the next iteration? It's kind of similar, but we want to, there's power creep, right? It starts to creep forward. Cards get more rules, cards get more complicated. New interactions are discovered that make other things just objectively worse. So the way Magic solved it was with different formats where you have like a temporal barrier. We're playing, these sets are of the now, those sets are of legacy. Like, I don't know which way Sorcery is going to go. I think because of the slower set release, there's less danger of that. Like, one of the hidden upsides of a slower set release is that you have more time to balance what you're releasing and to explore the space that is left open and find ways of creating new cards without making old cards obsolete. You also have just more playtesting time to make sure that cards work and aren't breaking the game. Because as soon as something breaks the game, then how do you resolve it? Do you ban the thing, or do you create a hard counter, or you just escalate across the board and leave everything in the dust? I think the way the cores are and the Philosopher's Stone, they're not going to mess with those, and they're kind of hard to mess with because they're just straightforward, very good. Things like avatars, I think we're going to see a cycle of avatars probably fall by the wayside, depending on what they are. And that's fine, right? Like, you can, because you can always revive an avatar by creating something that works particularly well with its mechanic. So if the avatars are very different, there might be ways to revitalize them with new cards down the road. I'm not sure. I'm not like a game designer, so
well, because the thing is, like, so irrefutably, the philo, the cores, those are fundamental to the resource, the intrinsic resource design of the game. So you would assume that those are always going to be relevant. But like for avatars, like I played games like Hearthstone in recent years, and then like Magic in the early days pre-Commander. Like, I don't even know what Commander is or how that's played, because I played like in the 90s before that shit existed, right? And you would play around a color, and then the colors would have like thematic concepts pretty much, right? If you had like yellow, or like the black, like minions, or red was more direct damage oriented and things like that, right? So the concept of like architecting a game design around an avatar is a little foreign to me. So that's why I'm wondering, in other games, you say you've played a lot of games, is it normal to phase out avatars, or is it also common, as you say, that they reemerge based on new cards that are introduced, so they always have the potential to be relevant, and the alpha ones in particular always have the potential to remain iconic and relevant?
So the comp I have would be, or the comp that comes to mind for me right away, is actually Netrunner, because you have a runner, or you have a corp card, a corporation card, and that kind of dictates that dictated how you would run your deck. Commander doesn't. I think Elder Dragon Highlander, which is Commander now, was from the 90s. They actually made that when Legends came out, or a little after. So that's been around forever, but obviously they popularized it by making products for it and saying, like, this casual way to play is actually more appealing for most people now than the hardcore way to play, because I think over time people have run out of time, so they don't want formats that you have to dedicate your whole life to. But yeah, Netrunner, your runner would kind of dictate how you would construct your deck, and I don't think Sorcery is quite there yet because it's a single set, but as time goes on, I see that becoming more and more a thing. Like, the Death Speaker is absolutely very much that, right? Like Avatar of Earth, Sorcerer, you can play either of those, and you have like a mid-range air earth deck that kind of would look similar. The Death Speaker, you're building around that Genesis ability entirely, so he's already like that. And some abilities are more generic, like Sorcerer is generic, Elementalist is more generic, and that's totally going to depend on the avatar rules. I do think it's inevitable that over time, as you explore new space with avatars, the shittiest avatars get bumped out. But I already think that's a thing now, and that's just the nature of competitive card games. But there's still room, as long as the game is fun, there's still room to have fun with. Like, I played Death Speaker to get my hard record in the league, and then I switched to Avatar of Air because she's just so much fun to play for me.
Okay.
And I won more games than I lost, but that wasn't really the important part. It was like trying to make her work was really fun for me. And I think there's a lot of room for that too. And draft avatars have a different purpose in draft too. Like one thing I noticed was I saw an elementalist being passed in draft, and I was like, oh, actually, elementalist is surprisingly good in draft because it suddenly expands your card pool so much because you can play single element or single threshold cards with no burden, right? So it expands your card pool. You don't have to avoid taking something because it's not in your color, you know? So that's another little dimension. And if draft becomes popular, that might be more of a consideration.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how it evolved. I was shocked when so I didn't, of course, when the new beta avatars were introduced, I looked at the art from Francesca. I didn't even bother looking at the game mechanic because I still got to learn the game, right? So, and I remember he was saying that they will be functionally different, and I know that they are. So, what is your take on? Well, I guess you wouldn't know because, well, no, beta is going to be a reprint. All right, so beta is a reprint, but we have these new functionally different elemental avatars. Are the first 4 elemental avatars that Severn did with their functionality, are those already obsolete, and people will play with the new beta avatars? In your opinion?
Um,
'Cause it's not
I
gonna be
don't
new
think
cards.
I don't think obsolescence we're at that point for
Okay.
anything.
Yeah,
I
we're
don't
still
like
discovering.
I think we talked about this last time. I think the Avatar of Fire was a little bit of a miss, but worked for the precons.
Yeah.
But
I own
I
that.
don't see why. Like Avatar of Earth was I just played in the finals and she's a beater. You know, she's badass.
Yeah.
I love Avatar of Air. She's super fun. She's like the way she works and the tricks you can do are just thrilling to me. Just as a player and somebody interested in the tabletop. From like pure goodness perspective, that narrows things a lot, but I don't think that's all important because there are always going to be more avatars than there are competitive avatars. You know,
Yeah.
I think they did a great job at making the sorcerer the baseline avatar because he's just straight up card draw is just straight up good.
Okay.
And we're gonna have multiplayer too, right? Like
Yeah.
we already know people play tested it and had a ton of fun with it. And everything I've seen of this game, I am very excited to see multiplayer get more formalized. And people are already experimenting with stuff. And
But
I think
that's not expected for beta. You're saying that eventually that's coming, right?
I don't know if it's going to be
Okay.
formally released by the company with beta, but I would
Mhm.
imagine it will come within the next 12 months. I'm not sure what's going on with that on any kind of like formal basis. I know it's something we've all seen them express interest in it in Discord because why wouldn't you, right? Like it's a whole new avenue to interest people in your game, and I think this game is particularly well suited to it. The one pleasant surprise, it wasn't a surprise, but it was a confirmation I experienced at Gen Con, is that this game, I think, drafts as well as Magic the Gathering. And Magic the Gathering, in my opinion, their best format, other than like the fun of Commander, which is very casual, draft has been like the best way to play Magic. And I mean, it's a way that you play Magic where somebody opens a box every time they want to play it. So it sells product too,
Yeah.
I would imagine. Sorcery drafts really well and is very fun to draft. So that was a
That's
real
cool.
nice like confirmation for me. I was like, this is working great.
And how many like packs does it take to make a functional deck? How was the
Pack,
packs?
you
Yeah.
open, it's the same as Magic. You open 3 packs.
Oh, okay.
So it's pick one, pass one, left, right, left. There's a token card or like your sorcerer or your land you just pull out and you just go until the cards run out. And then you open another pack, you go the opposite direction, go and take one until your cards run out. You have access to all the basic lands, sites, and you have access to a sorcerer guaranteed. If you open another, you can use that, another avatar.
What's it on you?
Got company.
Little,
So I got to learn the game, man. I'll take you up on your offer one of these days. I'm interested.
It's an open offer. I'll teach you.
It's
to
just
play.
time. Look, it's this kid's 5 years old and it's 10:20 p.m. and he's no sign of
I
fading.
know they're little villains, right?
Yeah.
It's just a long war.
So we gotta pre-coordinate and cook something up. But
Yeah.
it sounds pretty interesting. That's an amazing win. Did you go into it thinking you're going to be competitive in the tournament, or is this going to be like a crapshoot? I know you played it quite a bit, right? You played a lot in Simulator.
I have played a lot.
Yeah.
I am not as good a player as the players I beat. I'm not as
Okay.
good as Ira. I'm not as good as Zalem, but
Yeah.
I'm good enough
Where's
where
Zalem? Is he European or is he from Australia? I forget.
Zalem?
Yeah.
Nah, he's from like Colorado or something.
Oh, is that right? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I thought for some reason he was overseas. He's got an LGS, right?
I believe he has a
Or he
game
was
store,
in
yeah,
Keeper
but I think he
somehow.
sells a lot of video games.
Okay.
And they run a con out there. I plug it for him. I don't remember what it's called, but he's
I remember him talking a lot in Discord.
he's a very good gamer. So I would say I did not expect to win. I didn't think that was realistic.
Yeah.
But I know that in a format where it's Swiss, you can go 5-0, right? Like if you run hot and you play well, like if you're a good player, you can go 5-0. If it was like best of 3 and we played over 2 days, and I probably would get eliminated at some point. I don't think I have the consistency for that. But
when they pulled out the original painting, did it draw some attention from the people in the room? Or you're saying everyone's doing their own thing at Gen Con? It really didn't draw a crowd or anything?
Listen, Gen Con had, I think, 65,000 people or 80.
Yeah, I know,
it was just the vastness of the hall. It's you're going to get people who look and check out what's going on, especially when people start to gather and get excited and people are clapping and stuff. You definitely get people looking. I don't think anybody was like, oh, a painting, let me.
Right. It's just too big. Yeah.
It's just too big. But I think Gen Con, if they do a major, like a beta release, like a big beta thing there, have a booth, have like something available for pre-sale that people think is worth money. Like that's why the Lorcana stuff happened, because for a lot of people it's worth sleeping overnight if they think they can flip something for $1,000, right? That's really what's driving it. It's not interest. It's not because everybody wants to fight Mickey Mouse versus Cinderella, right? That's not really the driving force behind it. Let's be real. And I'm not knocking the game. I haven't played it. I'm sure it's going to be fun for a lot of kids, but it's just like that's the driving force behind those lines and stuff. It's not like, oh, this is what we've been craving our whole lives, a Disney CCG. So
and there's so many there, right? So it's hard to stand out, I guess. Maybe that's not the best forum for it. There's a lot of people, but it's like disaggregated, it sounds like.
I think though that it could be the forum for it. First of all, it's great because Magic comes from Gen Con.
Okay,
that's where Magic started.
All right.
So historically, for the game that wants to like harken back to Magic, it's perfect that it kicked off at Gen Con, right? So that's just perfect for historical synchronicity or whatever the term is. And I think with more preparation, retail product, some sort of big splash, Gen Con could be whatever Sorcery wants it to be for them with enough planning. Now it's a small team. They just kickstarted, like this wasn't the year for it. So I'm just very happy that they made it an event to remember, got coverage from it. If you introduce Sorcery at this Gen Con to just 100 people and they got their friends to play, 200 people playing in front of people at their game store, talking to their families and friends, noting that October's coming, you can buy product, people get interested. There's a cascade effect, and the game has to grow organically. So I think it's a great place to reach a lot of people. There are a lot of people doing the learn to plays. A lot of people got product, at least a little taste of product, and most people really liked it. So I think it's just, they got their first event in, they saw how that went, they saw how drafts went, right? Like just as a collection of guinea pigs, it was probably very informative for them.
Yeah, and it says like so people, early adopters, people that know how to play, and or people that learn for the first time. It demonstrates that there is organized play potential. I think for one thing.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
then, some people say it's like a myth that they weren't ready to like go launch with a booth, but I'm not sure of any game that just shows up at like a big sea of 65,000 people and stands out as a big blockbuster success. I know Magic did that, but it's not like indie TCG games are just emerging out of the woodwork, especially these days when there's like dozens of them popping out like constantly on Kickstarter. So I think you're right. Like next year, there's still that opportunity for the big splash. Once there's more baseline awareness, like my point of perspective is always like the art scene and stuff. So I hear from the artists, like Tony Sudlow is on Facebook here commenting on our stream. It's funny. I think he's watching it through Facebook and not YouTube. But
Tony,
he just told
I
me,
love
like,
you, man.
Yeah. He actually said hi to you. It was
Big
awesome.
fan.
He told me like a month ago that he went to like
Cheers,
5
Tony.
different LGSs in his area, and not one of them even heard of Sorcery. And I was like, do they know who you are? Do they know that you're the Great King, from Magic and other games and PSR? And he was like, they know who I am.
I'm listening
like,
to
they
you.
have no idea what Sorcery is. So what the hell's going on? And I hear that from like others, like Ed Beard Jr. tells me the same thing. He goes to these Renaissance affairs, all types of oh shit, that's nice.
I know you, Tony.
Yeah, that's his masterpiece. That's awesome. So like Ed goes to all these Renaissance fairs, and they know like a lot of the fans from Magic show up and have him sign cards, and he has a lot of like fair. Some people don't even know him from Magic; they just know him from his other artwork and stuff like that. But even there, like the Magic people showing up at his booth have never heard of Sorcery. So it seems like it's been around for 2 years to people like me and you, but it's like really, really early days. So I think beta will be that next push, but like I really think there's going to be a shortage of beta, and it's not going to be like fully the big player splash that some people expect. I think there's going to be an issue in Europe because it seemed like they didn't have a lot of time to put pre-orders in, and there wasn't like really any marketing going on in Europe. So I think like a lot of LGSs in Europe have no idea what Sorcery is, and that was evident in the Kickstarter too. And there hasn't been like a push to market to that market from the team. And then in the U.S., I think a lot more stores have heard of it, but still on a small scale. So really, I think there will be a need for a revised, and that will be the big mainstream push, and not so much beta. It'll still feel like early days for the next 6 to 12 plus months.
Well, so I think that the nice part about beta is because it's a retail product. If the company wanted to tuck away 5,000 boxes and ship them to Gen Con and do a launch there, you're not allowed to be mad at them, right? It's their stuff for retail. This year, like they couldn't do that because it's a Kickstarter product and it was printed to order, right?
Yeah.
So if they showed up with their overprinting and sold it, like that wasn't viable. That was never part of the advertising. They have to do what they say they're going to do to a large degree. So I hope that maybe they'll have some products set aside for big splash event like Gen Con. I don't know the cost and like the viability. I'm assuming it's something that they could swing and it would be worth it for them. And I don't think they're going to show up at Gen Con this year and not do it next year, because they'll have more capacity to make it better and bigger. Now, I don't know, like I always wonder, I know people consider it part of the ecosystem now, but the people that speculate on games and buy it as though it's some sort of stock that they're going to, or like this asset that they're going to tuck aside, that has to have some sort of detrimental effect when you're taking a chunk of product that's supposed to be played with, open, shared among collectors, and setting it aside and siphoning it away. It never gets open. You're just waiting for that dollar amount to tick to a certain point and then sell it to people that can afford it, which become much narrower, right? I don't have any sense of like how badly that affects the game. But if like people are glomming up beta because they're just trying to flip it, ironically, I think they'll hurt the game and maybe strangle it to death and hurt their own investment.
Yeah, fair.
Like I always said, a lot of alpha's got to get open, or this game is not going to, it needs at least a core and like a little nugget of players that are hardcore that'll hold on. be there for beta, be there for AL, promote the game among their locals. So I don't know. I don't know how that will affect beta. I don't know, like, if they're factoring that into their print run size, right? Like if they have estimates based on what's been open, right? Because I think the dust code was really clever, because now they can at least check what's been submitted. So if there's like, oh, X amount of people are just sitting on product, we know the tendency is to behave this way. I don't know what kind of information they have or don't. I mean, it's probably very hard to guess.
Yeah, I mean, an alpha, it's a little soon for that, I think. But like, I had
Rudy
I did an interview with
a huge thing.
Yeah, I did an interview with Zach Bunn, from Team Covenant, and he had a really good point about beta. Like, I think we were talking about beta at the time. He had a great idea that they should print the hell out of the pre-cons for beta, like an insane amount, just to make it like unlimited, cheap as hell, like easily accessible by whoever the hell wants it. Still, you still got to appeal to the collector market and the investor speculator market, because that drives money, into the game and stuff.
Yeah, boosters is the lotto ticket, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, for the pre-cons, that's exactly right? Like, I think that's a great
hopefully
idea.
they're thinking that for pre-cons.
Yeah,
and they're pretty reasonably priced from distributors. So
the pre-con for $40, you get 4 decks and a booster pack. That's unbelievable value, and it will be such that I am guessing, I don't know what's in it, but I am guessing that if you buy 2 pre-cons, like say you don't have any alpha, you're not going to spend any money on booster packs, right? And you just bought 2 pre-cons for $80. And you say you have a buddy, right? Like that only wants to make 2 elements. You could probably trade 2 of those or 4 of those and just focus on 2 elements and make all kinds of deck combinations out of that.
Yeah.
With 4 ofs of everything, right? Or max, like, I don't know what the permutations are because I don't know what's in the deck. But yes, I think that's a great idea. I mean, those guys know games, right? Like they've played everything from the mid 90s to now.
And the business of it too. They know both sides. So yeah, they're pretty well informed and have some good ideas. So I think that's probably, but like Eric is a collector at heart as well, just as much as he is a gamer, if not more. So I do think there's going to be like a curio concept and other collectible aspects that make it supported and desired and stuff. So again, like I don't, and with the lack of a mainstream awareness and still like a fairly smallish number of LGSs aware and like willing to buy, I think beta is still going to feel small until it needs more time to marinate, and it'll be the next leg of awareness. But I do think we're still like 6 to 12 months until we get major traction and major growth in the market. And not just when I say market, I mean player market too.
Yeah.
No,
I'm inclined to agree with you. I think when I was thinking about beta, I was like, who is this really for? Excuse me. It feels like it's for the people that were sad they missed alpha.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I know, like, a lot of people told their friends, a lot of people told their friends and their friends didn't listen and then said, hey, you didn't tell me. And I was like, hey, yeah. but beta is their window to go buy, a few boosters or a case, get the pre-cons, get the play mats, get established in the game, have access to everything their friend does, right? So you don't feel left out. You get all the power of alpha, and you get to onboard that many players, and hopefully you at least double your players, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe more. And I'll tell you, like, just playing at Gen Con, I have friends that go to Gen Con. We all travel together. We hang out. We go out at night. They saw the game. They tried it out. Now I know a bunch of them are buying product, waiting for beta. Like, the queue is growing, right? Because to see the game and to play the game is to want to buy into the game, I think. Because it's just great. It's a really fun game.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Yeah, I think certainly like very few people are playing with alpha right now just because it got so expensive right away. And like the people that bought in the Kickstarter are going to get a lot of speculators. But beta will change that. There'll definitely be a significant leg of growth of players. And even those alpha people that thought they wanted to play and couldn't buy more cards to do so or have enough durability beyond their pre-con decks will take that next step and actually commit to playing. So that'll be big in and of itself. And then
here's the one thing I'll say about sealed product. If you're sitting on like a case or something, if you think the case is going to make or break your retirement or something like that, just think about it. First of all, the odds are extremely long that it's going to go crazy like Alpha Magic. Second of all, if it does go that crazy and you opened half of it and you had some fun with it along the way, your cards are still going to be worth a ton and you're still going to have a few sealed boxes. So what do you like? I don't get the psychology of it. I can't like, it's like, you know, it's like flagellants, right? Like they just stare at the sealed product and whip themselves and they're like, I will not open it. I will not have fun. It's like you're missing out on months. You're missing out on getting to play. Like, do you know how much I would have killed to play Magic at the beginning? Like be there at the very beginning and talk about it and be like, yeah, I remember that. That was crazy. Like this guy played 4 Black Lotuses. Or this guy was ripping up his Chaos Orb in front of me. You know, like that stuff is great.
Speaking of which,
experiences.
Did anyone play with Eric's Furiosa?
I didn't see one. I didn't.
You didn't see one copy?
I didn't.
Is it like a highly meta relevant card? Do you? Well, it could be, right? I mean, it's a powerhouse. But like, does it make sense to even put in your deck? It's unique, right? So it's not really like a big swinger.
So the thinking, if you're thinking from a purely gameplay perspective, unless you're going to use it every game, it's you don't want a dead card in your deck,
right? So
the way that you would get around that is if there was a sideboard, right? Like you could throw one in there as a sideboard and be like, okay, this is the finals. I want access to this power. I have one in my sideboard.
Okay.
There was no sideboard because it was best of one, right? Like, so there's no substituting cards in. So that already eliminates the most likely scenario you're going to use it. So otherwise you're going to have to play every round with it. And are you going to play every round with a dead card, or are you going to replace it every time you see it? You're going to use it, cast it, go get a card and rip it in half or whatever you got to do. So that's the choice. So I wasn't going to field it because I was like, there's another card that's just good and I will use every game. It was honestly, I didn't even think about using it.
Yeah.
Because I also didn't think winning was likely, right? I knew who was coming. I know like Haynes there also. He's another great player. Fortunately, Adam and him played the round before I played Adam. So I was like looking out for like good players to just get eliminated.
Hoping to skip them.
But yeah, I was not going to play that card because the odds of me, first of all, I don't have enough for every round, and I wasn't going to rip it up because I'm not going to throw money away. If it was the game 5 and I drew it, no hesitation to win that painting easily. I will do it.
Yeah, it looks amazing as I expected.
Well,
I've seen a lot of her paintings, you know, but I haven't seen any of the mixes in person.
Yeah,
but I will when I come to your house and learn the game.
Well, okay. So the only way I'm letting you in is if you're going to learn to play.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only.
That's contingent now. I'm now holding the next hostage. Collector Arthouse must learn the game that he talks about all the time. Talk a little less and learn the game. There will be a huge gap of time.
I got a kid problem.
We'll call it the silence gap, and you can fill it with learning.
Yeah. What are you doing, man? He's playing with the cigar boxes that Tony Sudlow sent me with his artist proof.
It is 10:40 p.m.
Yeah, probably bell.
I'm on beer number 2, and your child is biting your ankles or something.
Yeah, man. All right, well, we'll do it again sometime. Appreciate you coming on. Short notice here. It's fun.
My pleasure.
Congrats on the win, dude. That's amazing.
I am thrilled, and I thank you very much. I was very lucky. Bye, young man.
All right. Take care, bro.
You don't have to go to bed for another hour, buddy. Don't worry about it. Daddy's a mush.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Take it easy.
Take it
easy.
See ya.